Hi, in some ways I regret having to make this film. It's not something I've had to do before or felt a wish to do. But this is an unusual circumstance, and I feel that I ought to warn the general public about the same situation that we've fallen into, a slight trap here that could befuddle many of you, or a person who may be in a more sensitive situation, living on their own, or may not know how to use the internet as much, maybe an older lady and so on. Recently my partner bought a Suzuki car. It's the love of her life. She wanted a more expensive car, slightly for us anyway, more expensive. We can't afford brand new. So she bought this second-hand vehicle, rather nice, because she does a lot of travelling to work and back daily, and wanted a slightly more luxurious and more expensive model, a diesel as well. Fine, she loved the car, it works great, it's very comfortable, it's just what she wanted. I'm happy for her for that, but apparently there's an inherent fault with the Suzukis, and suddenly a warning light was showing for the braking system. Now you would think that could be repaired fairly easily and without too much expense. No. And I'm going to now tell you the story and show you underneath all the details and dates so that you can be aware of this if it ever happens to you. And in case the Suzuki dealers try and charge you the exorbitant amount they tried to with us. Basically, we were advised by a local garage who'd already sorted out what it could be. It was a switch to the brakes, a warning light. Now you can get away, the brakes are perfectly safe. There was no reason for us really to change other than it could avoid the insurance and MOT shouldn't really pass it with it. But there we are. So the car's perfectly safe to drive, but this needed doing. So we took it by their advice to the Suzuki garage mentioned here, and were told it would cost us £65 to have it tested if they didn't find the fault within 5 minutes. Well, we'd already told them what the fault was. We knew what the fault was basically. It's just whether the fault was being caused by something else, which could easily be fixed and wouldn't be so expensive. That was the only point we needed to know. Anyway, we were duly charged £65 and told that it was this fault, and it would cost us about £1,600 to have fixed. I'm giving the exact amount below. A lot of money. And they said, well, do we part exchange the car and cut our losses that way? They only offered us about £2,000 for the car. So, you know, the part and the fitting was almost as much as the car, which is just totally ridiculous and unacceptable. There was no mention made that you could have this part fixed. As far as they were concerned, that wasn't an option. That was the only option. We said, right, we are aware that this car has an inherent fault, that 5 or 6 years ago you were giving 60 to 70% to customers to have it fixed. What's the situation? Well, we will call them for you, as you requested, but you will need to call them as well, which Rosie duly did, and gave the details and so on, and was told they would get back to us. The garage later did ring us once. A gentleman rang us up and said, have you heard back from them? We said no. He said he'd chase them up. Nothing after that. Nothing from Suzuki, except, rather insultingly, the only thing we had was a welcome pack for buying a new Suzuki car, which we hadn't got a new one anyway. We'd had it a while by then. What do you say? We couldn't be bothered to keep chasing them up. If their customer relations are so bad they can't be bothered, well, what are we going to do? Anyway, in the meantime, we found out that we looked into possibly the availability of a second-hand part, which then would be far cheaper to fit and may last a while, but you know, it's a piece of string, but certainly was worth trying. But in looking up on the internet, we came across this other company I'm going to mention at the end of the film here, which would recondition that part for much, much less, just a couple of £100. And in fact, the whole deal was done with our local garage and having this part reconditioned for about £300. There's a huge difference between £1,600 and £300, is there not? When somebody has a car and they really can't afford to pay more, I mean, we would really struggle to have that amount, find that amount of money and have it done. And we weren't advised by Suzuki that this could be reconditioned. They didn't offer that option, which they should do. I mean, to expect people to pay that amount of money out. So anyway, we went the other option. We had this part reconditioned by the company mentioned, who were extremely good. Not only do they offer a lifetime's warranty for that part, I can't see Suzuki doing that even for the part that if it was brand new fitted for over £1,000. They offer a lifetime's warranty for the part that they've then fixed. And you're only paying £300 or so, a couple of £100 to them and £100 or so to your garage to have it done. A huge difference and a change in option. So we've not only got a far cheaper deal, but a far better price, at a far longer rate and guaranteed, with less hassle. And that company emailed and telephoned to make sure that we got it all right, that everything was fine. They were exemplary, couldn't fault them. And I say I give their address at the end. So if you have a Suzuki and such a thing happens again, then do make sure, if Suzuki try it on and want to do a huge expensive part, that that part can't actually be reconditioned somewhere else. And it's worth talking to this firm that we mentioned at the end of the film for this. We are not happy at all with Suzuki over this, as you can imagine. I've never made a film that is shown publicly that complains about something as I am now, but I feel a very right to do so, to warn the general public about this attitude and the very poor service that they've given.